Okay, folks, thank you for joining us for the Cortaca Jug Press Conference. An exciting day as we're going to talk about not just one, but two upcoming Cortaca Jug games. We have a big game this Saturday at Ithaca, some playoff implications, seedings, and hopefully playoff berths on the line. And as we announced earlier this morning, the 2026 Cortaca Jug game returning to Yankee Stadium, where it was also played in 2022. One little fun fact, there's been 24 college football games at Yankee Stadium since the new stadium opened and starting in 2010. Seven of those 24 have had attendances greater than 40,000. Four of those involved Notre Dame, one involved Penn State. One was a big rivalry game between Lehigh and Lafayette, and the 2022 Cortaca game between Cortland and Ithaca. So seven, including the Cortland Ithaca game. Joining us here in the press conference today, Cortland head coach Tom Blumenauer, his first year as Cortland's head coach. He is the third Cortland head coach to have played at Ithaca and then coach in the Cortaca Jug game for Cortland. Larry Zarnecki, Dennis Kaiser in the 80s, the other two. Ithaca head coach Michael Terper, in his fourth season as Ithaca's head coach, coached the Bombers to a win in the 2022 Yankee Stadium game. Cortland junior wide receiver Joe Idevio from Plainedge, New York on Long Island. He played in the 2022 Yankee Stadium game, and because of an injury last year, he'll be eligible to play in next year's game. One of three current Cortland players to actually have played in the 2022 game. And from Ithaca, sophomore defensive back Joe Spira from Bridgewater, New Jersey, so not too far away, within a couple of hours of Yankee Stadium, one of the top players currently on the Bombers squad. And special guest with us today, Mark Holtzman, Vice President of Non-Baseball Sports Events at the New York Yankees. And we will begin with some opening comments from Mark. Then we'll open up the questions for Mark and the other participants. Again, as I mentioned before, contact Justin through chat if you have a question, and he'll facilitate the order of the questions. So, Mark Holtzman, thank you for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Fran, and thank you, Justin. On behalf of our team president, Randy Levine, and our principal owner, Hal Steinbrenner, I want to welcome all of you. Welcome back to your second home at Yankee Stadium. We're thrilled to have Cortland and Ithaca back next year for another game. It was so successful the first time around. Like you said, very few games have had 40,000 or more in attendance, and this is one of them. It was in rarefied air, and I really believe this time, knowing what we all know now, that this game we can sell out every seat in Yankee Stadium. I really do. And what an experience this will be for your kids, coaches and athletic directors and fans. And this is something that your kids will be able to tell their grandchildren someday, that you're playing on the same field, you know, that Babe Ruth played on, Joe DiMaggio, Reggie Jackson, that the Pope gave mass on, that Nelson Mandela spoke to the world on, that Muhammad Ali boxed on, that the game that ushered in the modern era of football, before most of us were born in 1958, when the Colts played Johnny Unitas and the Colts beat the New York Giants at Yankee Stadium. And that ushered in the modern era of football. All that happened at Yankee Stadium. Of course, 28 World Series championships. And now Cortland and Ithaca once again get to grace this field for another what I know will be an outstanding game. I'd like to give special thanks to a few people, you know, for making this all possible. First of all, I see that our dear friend Susan Bassett's on the line. None of this could be possible without Susan. She had the vision. She had the confidence in us that we'd make it work. She understood what the Yankees could bring to this, and she was confident right from the beginning that this game would be successful. And thank you, Susan. And in Cortland, first of all, congratulations on your fifth straight Empire 8 title. President Bitterbaum, we got to know each other last time around. From all places, you're from the Bronx. You know your way around here pretty well. You could actually show me some of the hot spots in the Bronx. Thank you. We look forward to having you again. Athletic Director Mike Ertz, We got to work together in 2022. Now we get to work together again. And of course, your head coach, who I look forward to meeting, Coach Blumenauer. You know, on the other end with Ithaca, President Cornish, welcome. Athletic Director Aaron Bouye, if I pronounced that right, hopefully. And of course, your head coach, who I got to meet, who played here last time around, Coach Turper. Very exciting. Tickets are going to go on sale to the public next Thursday, November 20th. We're just all so excited, you know, to have you back here, you know, at Yankee Stadium. My entire team is looking forward to working with all of you, and we're going to make this very special once again. Our partner, the Yes Network, will promote this game during the year, which really made a huge difference last time around because, as many of you know, the Yes Network is, you know, the biggest regional sports network in the country and has coverage across the country. And both of your schools, it was amazing how many alumni that you had in so many states across the country. And via the Yes Network, they're all able to connect with this game, which I think made a huge difference. We're also going to promote this game in stadium late in the year. We're going to put a spot together, and hopefully Yankee Stadium will be sold out late in the year, and we'll be heading towards another division championship. And when everyone looks up at the boards, they'll see the ad for the Cortaca Jug Game, promoting the game. So we promise to put the entire might and weight of the Yankee organization and all the media clout, you know, behind this game. And like I said, we're just thrilled that you're back, and I appreciate all the efforts from all of you to make this happen. One other person I want to acknowledge on the Cortaca end also is our good friend Richard Coyne, who has played such a integral role in making this happen again, and has worked very closely with us. So we're just excited to be back with all of you, and can't wait for next November.
Thank you, Mark. And now Justin will now facilitate our order of questions. Again, questions for Mark and for the coaches and players in attendance. We will be spending, again, about 20 minutes or so talking about this, the Yankee Stadium 2026 game, and then around 12:30 we will transition to talk about the game coming up this year. Justin, go ahead.
Thanks, Fran. Mario, you're up first.
For both coaches, an opportunity to get back to Yankee Stadium, just playing on that big stage. Like, I understand it's in a year from now, but what does that mean for your programs to be able to continue to build and showcase it on that national stage?
Yeah, I'll start it off, and I think it's tremendous that we're going back. It was such a special experience for our players, our alumni. Certainly in recruiting, it'll help both of our schools to be able to promote the fact that you get the chance to play in Yankee Stadium during your time here as an Ithaca Bomber or Cortland Red Dragon. So we're thrilled about it. Obviously, our focus is on this Saturday, but certainly in the future, we cannot wait to get back to the Bronx.
Yeah, and I wasn't around, for the last go around, but just special news and exciting news for so many reasons, and just a testament and credit to the leadership here on campus, and in our athletic department. A lot of hard work goes into this, and same with the leadership over at Ithaca, and the commitment to giving our student athletes something special, that they're gonna cherish for the rest of their lives, and also special for the friends and families of our student athletes and our alumni groups. So really exciting news for a lot of reasons.
Mario, anything else from you?
I can hold off for the other questions about this year if you want me to.
Okay. So in terms of next year, so Devin, you're up next for this year for next year's questions.
Awesome. Coaches, Mark, everyone involved, thank you so much for making this happen. Really, really special. Mark, question for you. I'm sure you had a lot of high expectations going into that first Cortaca Jug at Yankee Stadium back in 2022, but how did the results maybe differ from those expectations with how successful the event was?
Well, we had expectations because the game had previously played at MetLife. So the question was, if it translated at MetLife, would it translate at Yankee Stadium? The reality is I know it's just across the river, but New York's New York and New Jersey's New Jersey. Now, I live in New Jersey, nothing against New Jersey. But at the same time, we really felt all along that two New York schools playing in New York would be even more special. And it was. I mean, the results from the game at Yankee Stadium really exceeded the results, I believe, at MetLife. And like I said, I think also what really, look, both fan bases turned out tremendously. But like I said, our ability to promote the game, which we were able to do through our media partners, like no other sports franchise, really took this game over the top, I believe. The combination of that with your two fan bases totally embracing this just made for a home run.
Anything else, Devin?
I couldn't wait until this year's game, but
Okay.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Nick Karski.
Hey, Mark, what's going on? Nick Karski from ESPN Ithaca.
Hey, Nick.
Can you give us a little bit more of a timeline of the inner workings of this coming back? When was the idea kind of tossed around and, the kicking of the tires going on that, hey, maybe this should come back down this way, and how all of that kind of came to fruition from there?
Sure. Well, look, we had, after the last game in 2022, we had kind of a debriefing with Susan and Mike, the two athletic directors, as far as what their thought process was, and do you want to come back? We'd love to have you back, et cetera, et cetera. And there was a unanimous feeling all the way around, because we can't do, we can only do so many football games in addition to baseball, because we hope to make the World Series every year. So we have a limited window. So we can really only do one game in November, because then we host the bowl game, the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl every year. So we really have to plan ahead if we're going to do another game. And from that debriefing, it became clear that we wanted to do this again and make this somewhat of a recurring phenomena. You don't want to make it too close together because you want to keep it special, but you want to also do it enough that it remains topical of mind. So the discussion was that, let's wait maybe 4 or 5 years and bring it back again. So we let the dust settle for a few years after the game itself. And I'd say probably about 18 months ago, we start, because these things are really, you have to plan them out like 3 years in advance. So about 18 months ago, we started to have the conversations with, Mike and Susan again about potentially bringing the game back. Everyone was on board. Our ownership was certainly on board. So we were able to put it in pencil. And then very quickly, we were able to work something out. And it went from pencil to putting it in ink. I mean, once again, it was so successful last time around that it was very easy to get buy-in from both administrations, our ownership, et cetera. And also, what makes this also special, I always tell people when you play at Yankee Stadium, it just can't be an initiative from the athletic departments. It has to be a university-wide initiative. And with the commitment that both of your university presidents clearly have to this game, it was obvious to me right from the get-go that this would be a university-wide commitment again. So the question wasn't if, it was just when, and now when's going to be a year from now.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Is that it for this, Nick? All right, Colin Martin.
First off, thanks, Justin, Fran, Mark, everybody else that put this together. This one I want to direct towards the athletes, so Joe and Joe. I'll start with Spira over at Ithaca. When you come to Ithaca College, or for the other Joe, when you go to Cortland, do you think about games like these? I know both of your focus is on this Saturday in particular, but what does this announcement mean for you, and where is your excitement level at knowing you get to play on this big stage?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I grew up a Yankee fan. I've been a Yankee fan all my life. Through the recruitment process, they hint at it and they say that they put in all these big stadiums and these big games and against Cortland, and it's a great chance to have to be able to play in those stadiums. Like, it's a once in a lifetime thing. It's just really excited.
Yeah, it's an amazing atmosphere there. I remember when I was a freshman and I played there. I told everyone after the national anthem that it was the loudest crowd roar I've ever heard. And having that be at Yankee Stadium again, I'm very excited for the atmosphere, and the fans seem to love it, and we can't wait.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Next up is Liam Sample.
So for Cortland, Joe, you're going to be one of few next time around who have played in that game in 2022. So can you talk a little bit about how special that environment was 2 years ago playing at Yankee Stadium?
Yeah, I mean the environment was awesome. We didn't know how big it was going to be, and seeing all those fans, even pregame, uh, just how big the stadium is, just was amazing, and I was very excited to get that announcement that we're going to do it again next year.
Thank you, guys.
There's no more in the chat specifically for this. So, Fran, do you have some questions that you want to facilitate?
Sure. Let's start back with the coaches. Let's start with Coach Turper. Again, you coached in this game 4 years ago, or excuse me, 3 years ago. I'm already pushing us ahead a year. You coached in this game 3 years ago. It was your first year as a head coach. Talk about what some of the challenges, some of the differences preparing for a game on this kind of stage.
Yeah, certainly the challenge is just more logistically speaking, and our administration did a tremendous job of us just really worrying about the game as coaches and players, and we got in the bus and went down to the city and took care, they took care of everything along the way. So they made it really special for us because all the logistical things were taken care of, and we just had to game plan and prepare and go and play. So that part, and you try and get your guys ready as best as you can for the big atmosphere. And really just soak it all in pregame and then lock in when it's time to go.
And I will go to Coach Blumenauer since, again, this will be coming up your first, you've been involved with Cortaca Jug, obviously, as a player, and you're going to have your first one as the head coach this upcoming week. But talk about this experience, or when you started hearing about the news that this was going to happen, and talk about what this means to the program as a whole.
Yeah, no, it's special. It's in. I always go back to our student athletes, right? Joe, has some fond memories of his first go around there, and he could again remember hearing the crowd noise, and so I think it's special, and we have so many athletes from downstate, and we'll have who are Yankee fans, and so I just think it's great, and I can't wait to be a part of it. And like Coach Turper said earlier, worried about the matchup this weekend first, but this was some great news to get out. I already received some emails and text messages. A lot of people excited about this news, so it's great for our student athletes, our campus, our community, and and I'll definitely be counting on some of the people who were involved with the lodging and logistics of from the last go around. So those are it's great news.
Do we have any other questions, Justin? Anyone else in looking for questions on this topic?
None in the chat specific to next year's game. I have a couple already lined up for this season. So
okay, so if that's the case and there's no other questions on Yankee Stadium, we are going to transition. Mark Holtzman, you're welcome to stay with us, but if not, if you leave, we understand. We appreciate again your time and all of your commitment, you and the entire Yankee staff and management for making this happen, and thank you so much.
Thank you, and we couldn't be more excited about hosting both of your fine institutions again next year. It's going to be a great process going through and then leading up to the game and the game itself. So, and good luck next week, both schools. It's great rivalry. Good luck to all of you.
Thank you again, Mark. Justin will now start facilitating questions. We'll take questions about this upcoming game at Ithaca this Saturday. Justin, go ahead.
all right. Let's see. Let's start back up from the top. Well, let's start with Nick Karski, since he speaks with both teams quite frequently, and then we'll go back to the top and go to Mario and then Lindsay after Nick is done asking his questions.
All right, thanks, guys. Coach Blumenauer, I'll start with you. You obviously, know of the significance of this game, having played it and, during your time at IC. So what did it mean to you back then? And what are you most looking forward to now as the head coach over there at Cortland?
Yeah, but dating back to 2005 and 6 as a player, and you had the opportunity to coach in this game in '07. At that time, I thought it was the best rivalry in college football, and I feel the same way today. So I'm thrilled to be back in it, and there's just it's such a big game, and because of those who kind of came before us and poured their heart and souls into it. And I'm just doing my best to put our student athletes on this year's squad in the best position to be successful this weekend. So, really excited, and I know it's going to be a great challenge, and excited to be back in back in the mix with it.
Coach Terp, kind of going off of that idea a little bit here. I mean, you've been involved with this now for a little bit of time. So, for you kind of being a few years ago, if you will, new into the rivalry, and now that you've experienced it as much as you have, what's the one thing maybe that you've learned about it, maybe very quickly, something maybe you've appreciated more now that you've been a part of it for as long as you have now after, taking over the head coaching role at IC?
Yeah, certainly when I was an assistant, I didn't appreciate it as much because you just didn't feel all the things that occur around it, all the, all the alumni, how excited they are. And certainly as a head coach, you're feeling a little bit more of that. But just to put these two schools on a main stage, whether it be in Yankee Stadium, whether it be in Cortland Stadium or here at Butterfield Stadium, it's just such a great celebration of the programs, both programs' past success, and certainly just how impactful the game is to our alumni base, and just how pure it is for college football. In a world where college football landscape is ever changing, this is a game that at the end of the day, they're putting the ball down. There are a bunch of kids out there that are just excited to play the game for the right reasons. And we're really looking forward to Saturday. And we got a big challenge ahead of us because Cortland's a tremendous program. But really, it's just a special, special deal. And I think before coming to IC, I didn't know much about it except for what Tony Wise told me. And now to actually have experienced it for a significant amount of time, it's every year it's just more and more special in my opinion.
Thank you, guys.
You good, Nick? All right, Mario. Lost him. We'll wait for Mario. So go ahead, Lindsay.
Hello, everyone. Lindsay Peters with Channel 9 up in Syracuse. I just had some questions for the coaches, for both of you. So you've got a roster with a mix of veterans who've played in Cortaca before and underclassmen who haven't. How does everyone stay on the same emotional wavelength for a game like this?
Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead.
You got it, Coach. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it's tough. And, Joe over here, he's a sophomore and he got a chance to play last year. We got only 9 seniors. So those guys have experienced it. They're looking at this as an opportunity to keep their football careers alive. And then there's guys that are they're young and they don't know what it is. They'll find out soon enough. You try and tell them as much as you can about what it's going to feel like out there, how different it is than any regular Saturday. But you don't know until you're in it. I don't know what to speak for Joe, but I certainly think he got to experience the uniqueness of the game last year. So, you try your best to prepare them for it, but really they've got to just go out there and rip it and, experience it for themselves.
Yeah, we talk, a lot, every week, just about, these football games when you opening kickoff, it comes down to level of effort and the ability to execute. And this game, right? It's a big game and exciting for so many reasons. But it's gonna when in regards to who's gonna win and who's gonna lose, it's gonna come down to those two things, right? Taking care of the football, and creating big plays. Not letting big plays up. So just reminding the guys, yes, there's a ton of emotion and excitement, but we're going to have to try to win this game, just how we take on the other challenges we've had thus far.
Awesome. Thank you both so much.
All right, let's see. Mario, are you back? Do you want to ask your questions, or should I move on? I don't know if you can hear me. All right, well, we'll wait for him. So Johnny Lissy.
Hi, I'm Johnny Lisi, the host of the Bombers Live studio show. I have a question for Coach Blumenauer. Like we mentioned before, you played at Ithaca, now coaching at Cortland. I mean, you have both sides, such a unique perspective. What has that been like for you in preparation?
Yeah, I'm forever grateful, for my, for the experiences had, and the relationships built, at Ithaca. It was a special time in my life for, for a lot of, great reasons. And, but, this game, again, like I said, it's the best rivalry in college football, and I'm excited to get a chance to compete, and for me, that's, working hard to, put our athletes in the best position to be successful. But we've touched on a lot of the reasons why this game is different. So those are the many exciting reasons that I'm thrilled to be a part of this this version of Cortaca. But again, it's about our student athletes, and I'm so happy for our student athletes to get a chance to participate in this game, and I'm gonna work hard to help them be successful.
Anthony Labonte.
Hello, Anthony Labonte with Ithaca College Television. A question for both of the coaches. So both of you have experienced multiple rivalry games. For Coach Turper, you played in the backyard brawl, Pitt versus West Virginia. For Coach Blumenauer, you coached with Franklin and Marshall to reclaim the wagon against Dickinson. How would you say those rivalry games compare to the Cortaca Jug, like the difference in those two?
The backyard brawl is its own entity, but I'll tell you what, this is more intimate of a rivalry. When you have, certainly there's 45 miles separating Pittsburgh and Morgantown, but this is only 21 miles between Cortland and Ithaca. And just the fact that the fans are right up on you, everybody is so passionate. I don't know. Of course, the backyard brawl is a special rivalry, but this is totally separate. And I think it has so much of its own flavor that is unique to all the rivalries in all of college football. To Coach Blumenauer's point, I think it's the best rivalry in all of college football.
Yeah, and the competing for watching our student athletes at Franklin and Marshall when I was there compete for the Conestoga wagon was great, and obviously that trophy and the history with that game was meaningful to a lot of great people, associated with Franklin and Marshall and Dickinson. But this game's different. This game's different, and it's intense, and to Coach Turper's point, it's the settings intense, and playing at Ithaca, the fans are on top of you. So it's this weekend is it's a big time game between two great teams, in a great setting. So I think this rivalry is at I think ranks at the top of the list.
Thank you so much, both of you.
All right, now up is Billy Wood.
Hi, thank you everybody for being here. Billy Wood from the Ithacan. Question for Coach Turper. This is arguably the toughest opponent you guys had since week 1 at Johns Hopkins. I just want to ask, what challenges do you think this Cortland team presents to you on Saturday?
A lot of challenges, and that's all three phases. They have a tremendous offensive attack where they can pound the rock, but they can stretch you vertical, and they got playmakers on every level. And then a defense that plays really hard. They're sound and they're a physical bunch. And then on special teams, certainly you've got to be mindful of the returner that they have. That's really at an elite level right now. So there's a lot there, and certainly we have our hands full in our preparation, and then we get to Saturday. So we really respect this opponent, and we feel like this is going to be a big challenge for us, but we're excited about the challenge.
And then also for Coach Blumenauer, the same question. What challenges does this Ithaca team present to you guys? And how are you guys going to be able to handle that on Saturday?
You know, they have a lot of great football players. A lot of great football players. You could see, you know, you put the tape on. They're incredibly well coached in all three phases. You know, so we know we're in for a challenge. You know, they had a couple guys on the national team of the week last week, and you know that performed really well in a game with conference championship implications. You know, they've won a lot of close games. You know, so I think that tells you about their culture and their toughness. And you know, you put the tape on. Their defense is strong. You know, they're a big physical team. You know, they're multiple. You know, where you got to kind of be tuned in to kind of what you think they're trying to do. And you know, offensively, they got a couple good running backs, a big physical offensive line, and you know, one of the better receivers in the country. And there's some other guys in that receiver room who could give you some problems too. So you know, really high quality opponent, and you know, we're preparing our absolute best for it.
Got one more for Joe Spira. You're only a sophomore, so you've only had one Cortaca experience thus far. You haven't experienced the home atmosphere. How excited are you to be able to experience the home crowd in Cortaca?
Yeah, I was actually here a couple years ago when I was getting recruited, so I kind of got to experience it a little bit. But I'm just so excited to be able to play home and be in our field, our home turf, our own locker room. You know, last year was a great experience, but you know, nothing really beats being on your home field for this game.
All right, Corey, go ahead.
Everybody, thank you. Corey Richardson here from the Dragon Chronicle, and this question is for the athletes. Being that you guys have experience in this unique matchup, can you talk about what the emotions are like, you know, coming into that matchup, and what's the message to your teammates on trying to control those emotions and stay focused on the game?
Yeah, the emotions are definitely heightened during this game. And the message is kind of there's going to be big plays. There's going to be plays against you. It's kind of just staying sound and staying level. If they're going to have a big play, it's going to be at their home stadium and the crowd's going to be loud. And it's how we deal with that which is going to make the difference in this game.
Yeah, I agree. Like Joe said, you kind of got to stay even keel in this game. You know, it's going to be emotions throughout the game, but being able to stay level, headed, and confident and just sound throughout the game is the biggest part.
Anything else, Corey?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, Lee.
For both the coaches, with so much on the line in terms of the national playoff implications, sort of how have you balanced your message to both your teams in terms of the rivalry, and then of course what's on the line for the postseason for both of you guys?
Yeah, happy to answer that, Liam. Yeah, no, I think you know, the rivalry's great. You know, the rivalry's great. You know, but it's more enjoyable if you come out on the right end of it, right? You know, so we talk a lot about like how we're going to put ourselves in the best position to be successful this weekend, right? And that was started with you know having great meetings and great lifts at the beginning of the week, and you know putting together one you know real quality practice after another. So you know, yes, you know some playoff implications for for both teams, and you know seedings and things of that nature. You know, but I think we have to focus on how we need to play, and Joe touched on it. Stay in the course, and no high too high, no low too low. And just everyone doing their best to execute on their part of the scheme in all three phases for 4 quarters.
Yeah, that's a great point. And for us, we're fighting the same thing, because a lot of our players that are seniors, they all are looking down the barrel of potentially having, this being their last football game. So there's a lot of things that we don't control when it comes to that. But what we can control, to Coach's point, is how we prepare, how we have a great meetings and a great Wednesday practice today, and then just keep stacking those days. When we get to the game day, don't get too high, don't get too low, stay in the middle, just keep playing and keep executing, keep communicating, keep, doing the things necessary to have success on this play. So our guys, is as much as you say that to them, there's still going to be highs and lows because they're 18 to 22, and this is a massive rivalry, and it's going to be a crowd like they haven't experienced at all this year. So, the best that we can do as coaches to prepare them for those moments is what we're going to do.
Thank you, guys.
All right, you ready, Mario?
I am ready. Sorry, guys. I was trying to send my class off. This is twofold. First, Tom, when you look at the growth of your quarterback in Mike Resigno, from the Grove City game, Union, all the way out through, where have you seen him mature in his game and the level that he's playing at right now?
Yeah, no, very, very proud of Mike. He puts the work in. He's a student of the game, and he's a fixture, in the coaches' offices, and he obviously week one, you mentioned the Grove City game, that didn't go according to plan, and that starts with me. I definitely could have did a better job week one, putting Mike and our other athletes in better positions to be successful. So at that point you got a choice to make, and we said, hey, that could be the the story of the season or a part of the story, and I told Mike, I said, hey, the only person who had a worse debut than him was me, so we just agreed to put our heads down and get back to work, and he hasn't let up one bit, and just to answer your question a little bit more in depth, I think his decision making, and he's getting a heck of a lot more consistent with with his footwork, and the muscle memory that goes with playing that position at a high level. But he's a selfless guy, a hard worker. He's a big strong kid, who could do some things with his legs, but I just think he's earning the right to play well, and he gives his football team every single thing he has each and every outing. So excited to see him continue to grow, and that only happens with the way he approaches every practice. He's got great practice habits.
Michael, can I flip that around to you? What do you see out of a quarterback in Resigno, and the growth that he's made and trying to stop him this week? It's not your typical Cortland team that's been chucking it all over the yard over these last couple of years.
No, but it certainly is the same Cortland team where you got to account for the quarterback's legs. And this is a guy that we got to see him play in our JV contest last year. And I said, well, okay, that's a guy we're gonna have to be aware of the next 3 years. And certainly watching the tape this week, he's a guy that can beat you in so many different ways. And the coaches put him in great positions to be successful, both in the run game and the pass game. And like Coach said, he's a big, strong, tough, physical kid who's got a will to win, not too dissimilar from the quarterback that they had over the last 3 years. So, we've got our hands full with them, and we're preparing the best we can.
Thanks, guys. Good luck to both of you.
All right, up next, Devin Jarvis.
Question for both all coaches and players. Earlier this week, I was able to talk to both AJ Wingfield and Zach Boyes talking about this rivalry, and they talked about how, while it's such a big rivalry, there is so much respect between both programs. It's not like you guys, hate each other in that way on the field. You have respect and admiration for how good your squads are. I was wondering how all four of you can speak to that respect that you have for Cortland or for Ithaca, vice versa.
Dill, why don't you start off?
Yeah, they're a great football team, a great program that for so long now, they're always good. They're always a great team. It's physical, tough, and just respect on so many levels, no matter what kind of team it is.
Yeah, I think a lot has to do with us being not in the same conference anymore too. I think that's helped a little bit with the respect there. But no, they're a top-notch program. Coach Blumenauer is a top-notch coach who I've gotten to know over the years in this profession. We have some common mutual friends, and we got a chance to spend some time together a couple of years back, and just really grateful for that, because the fact that we're 21 miles away and get a chance to get our young guys together and play a JV game, that's special in its own right. And then we just know what type of class that this program has that we're playing, and I think that really goes a long way in just how you feel about the game and how you feel about welcoming an opponent into your stadium and your facilities. So, we have nothing but respect for Cortland.
Yeah, 100%. Ithaca team's a very good team, very worthy opponent, and we have to prepare very hard to play our best because this game is always a close game because it's such a great rivalry, and we're gonna do everything we can to prepare.
Yeah, it's just, echo, a lot of stuff Coach Turper said. I think you put the tape on and, it kind of speaks for itself. It's a great opponent that, plays the game hard, and you can see they're a team. They don't care who makes the play. They're going to play hard. They're going to play together. So you have to respect that a ton. And Ithaca, the Ithaca Cortland rivalry is special, and Ithaca is a classy program that's doing things the right way, and we respect the heck out of the coaching staff and the players, and we know they're going to present a big time challenge.
All set, Devin?
Yeah, thank you so much, Justin, and thank you, everybody.
Orlo.
Hey guys, this is a question for the coaches and the players. I'm really interested to hear what Joe IDVO you have to say about this too. The coaches mentioned kind of the intimacy of this rivalry, and I'm wondering, does preparing for this game, knowing how intimate the rivalry is, the closeness of it, is it different to go out and play, either on the South Hill or in Cortland versus a big venue like Yankee Stadium? Is it kind of a different vibe, and how does that vibe play into the game?
Yeah, obviously, playing there is a challenge because all the fans from Ithaca are mostly there, and we get a good showing too. So the game being so close to our campuses, just brings a lot of people there and makes the rivalry what it is. It's a small town school rivalry, and we love every second of it.
Yeah, and I imagine the feel at Yankee Stadium next year will be a little different, but I imagine it'll be just as special. That'll I've experienced the Cortaca rivalry on both campuses as a player and coach. Next year at Yankee Stadium, that'll be my first time doing that. But I imagine it's still the same two teams with great followings and rich traditions. So I think it's going to be just as special, if not even more special. With a different venue.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. I'm just wondering, being that, again, this is such a close, intimate rivalry, like the coaching staffs have said, how does this game being played, on the South Hill, at the campus of Ithaca College differ when looking at it played in, a giant venue like Yankee Stadium? Is there a different vibe there, a different energy having that home crowd there? I know, Joe, you haven't maybe experienced that, but I'd love to hear, you and Coach Turper's thoughts as well.
Yeah, well, like you said, I haven't experienced that, but I can only imagine how many people are going to be there, how electric the atmosphere is going to be there. This year I think it'll be great to get in front of our home crowd. Last year it was away, so they're going to have more people there, obviously. But it'll be great to be home and see what the atmosphere is like here this year.
Yeah, to Joe's point, the split crowd just makes it so unique. Yeah, I don't know if every rivalry in the country has such a split crowd. Last year at Cortland or Yankee Stadium or anywhere we're playing this game, you just feel the wave of one side when somebody's announced or a good play happens, and you feel the wave of the other side when they make a play, and that's really unique, I believe, and I think our guys can get trapped in that sometimes because when you feel your crowd making a big roar, you're going to get amped up a little bit, and then when you hear their side, your confidence level might dip a little bit, and that's the challenge. Is that you just got to play the next play. So it's that yin and the yang is just so unique.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Next up is Karina.
Hello, I just have a question for Coach Terp. Can you talk about last Saturday's win against RPI and it just coming down to the wire, the last second, and how a win like that can really boost the team's morale, especially heading into a weekend like this. It was, almost do or die for you guys. So can you just talk about how the win over RPI has really boosted the team's morale this week for you?
Yeah, it was everything. And we talk a lot about not worrying about what that score says until the clock hits 0, and all we need is one more point to the opponent. And I think that was that really came to fruition on Saturday. Our guys kept fighting. They had great competitive stamina, and just proud of the way they competed, and especially when things didn't go our way. I think that's really testament to them and the maturity that they have progressed. I don't know if in the beginning of the year we find a way to win that game, but certainly their emotional maturity has gotten a lot better as the season's gone on. So certainly happy to get the win. It gives us some juice going into this week, and some, at least some hope to potentially keep our season alive.
Yeah, one more really quick for you, Terp. Can you speak to the relationship between Mike Reed and Matthew Parker and how that's been going this year, and what your decision has been to put Mike in? And I mean, maybe it's going into your game plan this weekend, so no need to talk about it if not. But
That's a great question, and I think we brought 3 quarterbacks into that class, and all 3 of them started in different times during their time here at Ithaca, and I'm just proud of the way they've stuck together and they support each other. I'm sure inside they want to be the guy that's out there, and certainly with Mike, we gave him opportunities at different positions and whatnot. But just the way that they have really been we over me players, that's something we talked about a lot in our program, and those guys embodied it with how they've responded to difficult situations.
Thank you.
All right, up next is Jenna Johnson.
This is for the coaches and players. You've talked about how the younger guys have yet to experience this big game like this, but what have you seen from your captains and leaders kind of guiding them through in this week, preparing them for that game?
Yeah, I'm happy to start with that one. Like Joe said earlier, a lot of the young guys, likely experience Cortaca, from the lens of a recruit, so it's not completely foreign to them, but I think the older guys on the roster, the alums, they say, hey, it's about playing the game of football, right? But this one's different. This one's special, so enjoy it, right? So it's about, kind of, managing that balance the right way, and, focusing on the right things, but also enjoying every second of it, because it's something that a lot of people don't get to take part of.
Yeah, to Coach's point, this rivalry's been going on since 1930, and the Cortaca Jug got introduced in 1959, and there's a bunch of alumni out there that it means so much to. There's probably a lot of alumni out there that hasn't watched one of our games except for this one, and there's 25 plus watch parties all over the country, but the field's gonna be 120 yards long, 53 and a third yard wide. We're playing 4 quarters. It's 15-minute quarters, and these guys have played this game since they were 5 years old, so it's really just getting that message through to them, but they still got to experience it, as you know.
Yeah, just another game. The crowd will be there, but just like Coach Terp said, same game we play all since we were 5 years old.
Thank you so much.
All right, Molly Golden.
Everyone, thanks so much for taking the time this week. I'm really curious, anyone can answer this. As you mentioned, guys, it's a really interesting environment with Butterfield Stadium being the fans so up and close. Are you guys doing anything different this week in practice to prepare for that?
Yeah, we are. We have the crowd noise going on the speakers, and we got music playing loud, and we're just trying to create real kind of high pressure environment, to replicate it best we can, and so again, it's kind of doing what we do to the best of our ability, but to your point, there are some variables in this game, in this contest, that are a little bit different, so you do have to incorporate some different tactics in your weekly prep.
Yeah, we've got the stands out there, but nobody wearing red yet. We got the extra stands in the stadium, and trying to tell our guys like this is going to be full of Cortland fans. It's going to be electric, and like Coach said, we're trying to pump as much music in, and we got a 2-minute drill today, so we're going to try and pump the crowd noise up even louder. But nothing prepares you. You can do as best you can, but the moment's going to be the moment. We got to make sure that we're just detailed in our preparation so that we can go and just run the plays that we feel very most confident running.
Thank you so much.
All right, we have time for a couple more questions, so we're going to go Anthony, Corey, and then Farrell.
All right, I got a pair of questions for the Cortland guys. First, for Coach Blumenauer, we're going to going back to quarterback for Signo. Your offensive line has only allowed 5 sacks this year. That's tied for 5th in NCAA. How has the offensive line been such a help to his development ever since that opening game against Grove City?
Yeah, no, it's a great group up front. I know Mike values each and every one of those guys and what they bring to the offense. But it's a veteran group that has played a lot of really good football here at Cortland, and so I think they're doing a good job. Playing within our schemes, playing with good technique, and being real physical football players, in spots, and Mike's doing a great job, getting the ball out on time, and making good decisions, and being aggressive but not reckless. So I think you put those things together, and it's been good to kind of keep Mike kind of on track and in rhythm as much as we can.
And for Joe, how is that transition from the last quarterback boys to Mike Ben?
Yeah, it's definitely different. Zach was a great player. Mike's a great player now, and I think the biggest part is my relationship with both of them is like the same. They're both my brothers, and I trust both of them to do the job. And Mike's definitely embodied that role as the quarterback, and I can't wait to see his success going forward.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, so I have 2 questions for Coach Blumenauer. In the landscape of college football, after a conference championship, you're usually given a little bit of time to reset. In this case, you have another tough matchup this week against Ithaca. Can you kind of speak to how that plays in for the team? Is it more of a hurdle, or do you think it's been a benefit?
No, I think it's a benefit, and I think Coach Turper said it earlier. This is a game that matters to so many people. We were fortunate enough to play pretty well last week, and we won the championship. And I received some messages, and it said, now it's the big one. And some of those messages didn't even acknowledge the conference championship, right? So it's a game. It's easy to get up for this one, right? And for us, it's a great opponent. That we have to be at our absolute best for. So our working towards being the best version of us this weekend is going to put us in a good spot to play well this weekend, but also beyond, all right? Because this is a great opponent who we're going to need our best to go win this game on the road.
And then secondly, I would like to ask, how big is the production that special teams has given you recently? And Joe, you can chime in too, especially from Robbie Davis, an incredible return man.
Yeah, Robbie's a great player. Yeah, Robbie's a great player, and I think it comes down to our practice habits. Our guys are the practice habits and the intensity. For our special teams periods is no different than installing our third and short stuff or red zone stuff. It just comes down to putting a tremendous amount of focus into everything we do in all 3 phases, and great attention to detail. And I don't know, Joe, you have anything to add to that?
Robbie Das is a gamer, but those big plays don't come from the other 10 guys giving 100% effort, and I'm definitely proud of the way they have been playing.
Thank you.
All right, last question is going to Farrell.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lutz, and everybody organizing this. Farrell Hudson with Ithaca College Television. I have a question for both coaches. How cool, or what has been the coolest part so far of Cortaca Week in terms of have any cool alumni reached out, anything like that, to discuss with your athletes just the implications of this game and what to expect, even though there's different scenarios and circumstances that come along with it each year?
Yeah, I'll certainly answer that one. And listen, it's been great to get a lot of texts and emails and from some notable alumni, to say the least. And we got guys popping in, showing up. But truth be told, I'm trying to isolate our players as much as I can from it, because if they get too caught up in what other people want them to do or think they should be like on Saturday, then they're going to lose focus on what we've been working on all year long. So it's a balance that we understand and respect the fact that everybody's really invested in this game, but we've got to focus on the task at hand.
Just have one follow-up for Coach Turper on an internal level. How important, though, has it been for guys who recently graduated within the last 5-10 years, even last year, like a Kenny Bradley, Jake Connolly, and even Sam Taranjo, who's back for a fifth season as a grad player?
Yeah, having those guys in the staff, Will Gladney, Drew Miller, Kenny Bradley, Jake Connolly, it's certainly special because they know what this rivalry is all about. But then, getting texts from guys that have played over the last 4 to 7 years that I had a chance to be around, and this letting me know that they're coming back. It just means a lot that we have support from a young alumni, and that's only going to get stronger and stronger as they get more seasoned as alumni. So yeah, it just means a lot, and certainly add some juice to our guys knowing that they're going to be playing in front of their former teammates.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Farrell. Fran, that's going to be it. Do you have anything to conclude with before I close this up?
No, we've hit 1 o'clock right on the button, so I think we've done a good job. I really want to thank everyone for their participation, especially on both sides of this, and your patience as we've made the announcements and invited you in to talk about 2 different games. Thank you to the coaches. Thank you to both Joes, the players. I wish you both the best of luck this Saturday. And again, just thank you for everyone for their participation. Justin?
Yeah, I'll reiterate that from Fran, and just a couple things in closing. Once we conclude here, I will upload this recording to our YouTube channel. I have a couple of requests in our chat, and I will facilitate those to send out the file to you. Saturday's game will be broadcast live on ICTV. That link is also available on both school athletic websites. As a reminder to anyone who is attending through the media, please arrive early, earlier than usual due to security checks. I will also send out a follow-up email later today or tomorrow regarding where you can pick up your media credentials. There are 2 different locations, and I will notify each of you in our email where you can pick up your credentials. But again, please arrive earlier than anticipated just because of the crowd size and the pre-entrance security. But with that, I think we're all done. Appreciate everyone's time and the questions. Good luck to our coaches and players on Saturday.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Fran.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.